It's funny how we think about money. It's like we're two totally different people, living in two different financial worlds at the same time. There's the cold, logical world of our investments, and then there's the warm, emotional world of our relationships. And the crazy thing is, the rules from one almost never seem to work in the other.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. The principles you use to pick a stock, are those the same principles you use to, say, decide on a big purchase with your partner? Think about it for a second. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the answer is probably a big no. And that contradiction right there is exactly what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so let's break it down. On one hand, you've got the rational investor. Their entire world is built on data, on rules, on cold, hard calculations. Success is simple. It's about percentages and profits. But on the other hand, you have the modern couple. Their world is all about collaboration, shared values, and, feelings. Money isn't just a number here, it gets all tangled up with togetherness, fairness, and love. So, how in the world do we live with both of these mindsets at once?
All right, let's start with the most basic question of all, ownership. When you put your money into something, what does it actually mean to own it? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is dramatically different in these two worlds.
For an investor? Look, it's crystal clear. Ownership is measured with hard numbers, like return on equity or ROE. All that means really is how good a company is at using your money to make more money. It's completely unemotional. It's objective. The higher the number, the better the company is doing its job. Simple as that. And this idea is just perfectly captured in this quote from Warren Buffett. He talks about looking for economic castles with unbreachable moats. I mean, what a great image, right? It tells you everything. For an investor, ownership isn't just a number on a page. It's a fortress that you have to build up and defend from any and all competition. But then you step into the world of a couple. And that whole fortress idea, it completely falls apart. In a partnership, the very notion of my money versus your money can actually work against the whole idea of being a team. The goal isn't to build a moat to keep people out, it's to build a bridge between two people. Ownership becomes shared, it gets a little blurry, and it's all tied into that feeling of being an us. Okay, so if we view ownership so differently, it only makes sense that we'd handle risk differently too. How we protect ourselves from loss is another area where these two worlds just could not be further apart. One side relies on hard data, and the other relies on feelings of dependence and independence. In the financial world, managing risk is a science. You have these strict, data-based rules. Here's a perfect example. You avoid companies where the founders have pledged a huge chunk of their own stock as collateral for loans. And there's even a specific number for it. If that pledge is over 30%, it's a giant red flag. It's a clear signal of high risk. This is how investors sleep at night. They create systems to measure danger and stay away from it. But in a partnership, you can't just look up risk on a spreadsheet. Often, the biggest risk is purely emotional. It's that fear of losing your independence, of becoming too financially dependent on someone else. And that's not something you can calculate with a formula. It's a gut feeling. This quote just brings that idea to life so powerfully. It's from a woman who insisted she was adamant about using her own savings to pay for her master's degree. For her, taking her husband's money felt like a risk, not to her bank account, but to her own autonomy. It wasn't about the amount of money at all, it was about what that money meant. It just goes to show you financial risk in a relationship is often tied directly to our own identity and self-respect.
Which leads us to our next big question. How do we even define success in these two worlds? What does a good return on investment actually look like? Well, you can probably guess by now. The answers are worlds apart. In finance, success is a number. Plain and simple. And sometimes that number can never be high enough. The material we looked at tells this amazing story of an investor who was offered a strategy with a 25% annualized return. I mean, most people would be thrilled with that, but his response was, for me, 25% is too little. It just shows you that mindset where success is purely about the numbers and the goalposts are always moving. And then you see this. This quote from a Spanish couple. What's their return on investment? 16 years of peace. 16 years with zero conflicts about money. Never. For them, a rich life isn't a percentage game, it's harmony. It's a lack of tension. This just completely redefines what a successful financial life can be. It's not about maximizing your net worth, it's about maximizing your well-being.
So, what do? We have these two completely different operating systems for money running in our heads, the investors and the couples. But what if we could take the best of both? What if we could create a more unified approach to how we handle our money?
So let's just explore what that might look like. First, you could borrow from the investor's playbook, invest in knowledge. Just like you'd research a stock, you should learn about budgeting and financial planning as a couple. Then you take something from the couple's world, define shared goals. An investor has a target price. A couple needs a shared vision for the life they want to build together. And finally, here's a more challenging one from the investing world. Recognize red flags. Now, I know that sounds harsh in a relationship, but it's not about giving up. It's about being honest and addressing serious problems like hidden debt or reckless spending before they become catastrophic. It's about being clear-eyed, not just blindly hopeful.
And you know, what's so fascinating to me is that even the investment book, the one filled with all the cold, hard rules, ends on this note. It wishes its readers not just a profitable journey, but a happy and tension-free one. And that's it, right? In the end, it seems like both worlds are actually chasing the exact same thing, peace of mind. That's the ultimate return in investment, whether it's in the stock market or in your own home. So we'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Where do you fall on this spectrum? Do you manage your financial life more like a business, with strict rules and a focus on profit? Or is it more like a partnership built on shared ideals and emotional returns? The best answer, for most of us, is probably somewhere right in the middle. Thanks for joining us.